Welcome to Connecticut FLAGSTIck with my dad, PGA member Frank Darby, and Mr. Style, Marty Hackel. Have a great show.
Oh, how good is that intro? Nice job, Charlotte. Thank you for coming in here and introducing us. And, this is kind of different right here. First of all, we've got a YouTube scenario going here, which we will talk about. But I usually don't do the show this close to Marty Hackel. Usually we're talking over each other all the time. And maybe we just need to keep talking over each other like we always do.
Oh, Frank, come on. Seriously. This is just like you're working with me on the range. It's the same thing.
Hey, listen.
Slow down a little bit, Marty. Take your time.
Yeah, you're right. Hey, listen, all my serious producers, we have a lot of them over there on my serious show, they're constantly saying that you definitely have a face for radio. So, this is going to be interesting being here on YouTube, and it's exciting. And it was embarrassing this morning, though, because as we were driving up, Marty Hackel and I and Charlotte in the back, I was getting distracted because he was putting makeup and blush on me and this and that. So I'm over it right now. But hey, let's talk a little golf right here. And it was an exciting weekend with the I don't know what was better, the USGA Amateur at Ridgewood or the BMW Cup. A lot of pressure on both guys. And which one did you?
Yeah, hold on, Frank. The amateur, this kid Bennett, he's a lovely young man, but why is he doing this Sergio Garcia routine where he keeps gripping, re-gripping, 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 re-gripping? Enough already. Hit the ball.
Well, Marty, you know what? And it ties into the YouTube. These guys watch a lot of YouTube. There's a lot of people that are watching YouTube. Hopefully, there's going to be a lot of people watching us on YouTube as well. But, there's so much instruction out there right now. There's thousands of people with methods and then there's so many great highlights out there. I thought he did a pretty cool, he was twirling the club pretty good. That drive he hit on 18, he knew the pressure was on out there.
But, Frank, they were talking in the press conferences. They were saying things like he knew he was bothering people, so he kept doing that re-gripping just to get on people's nerves. Now, to me, that's not golf. That's sort of playing lawyer in a courtroom.
Oh, come on. It's what they call, and Dave can attest to this, Dave, they call it gamesmanship, don't they?
Absolutely.
Look at like hockey, they'd always have fights in front, and guys are always just trying to piss off other people sometimes because they hope that maybe they're not going to play to their level. But I tell you what, a lot of the times that's turned around pretty quickly sometimes.
Yeah, maybe what we need to do is get that tennis player from Australia, Nick Kyrgios, and get him on the golf course. I'll bet he would be a ball to play golf with, wouldn't he?
Well, I'll tell you what, and I know Dave can definitely attest to this. And Marty, you've been to you spent so much time at the U.S. Open. I don't know if you remember the Seinfeld incident where they had the ice cream all over George's face. That's what Marty does when he goes to the U.S. Open tennis. They've zoomed in. But those tennis guys, I grew up with John McEnroe, Vitas Gerulaitis, and I went to the same high school. Those guys are just like volcanoes waiting to explode.
Oh, Frank, I never knew that. You knew Vitas?
Yeah, we went to the same
Gerulaitis? Yeah. He was the best-dressed guy on tour for years. He wore these really fringe Italian brands, none of which any one of us could pronounce, but he always looked like $1 million.
Well, Vitas was a senior at Archbishop Malloy High School, and I was a freshman. And we were the two oddballs because, this is way back. I don't want to give my age away, but it's definitely not the 90s, I can tell you that right now. But so he was busy playing tennis tournaments all over the world. He was just starting to get going. He was still a highly ranked player, and I was just kind of playing a little bit of golf, but playing in events. And we kind of got we were the two oddballs because they had an unbelievable basketball program and a big baseball program as well. So we kind of got picked on a little bit. Everybody did that played golf back in the 80s anyway.
Well, today we see so many professional athletes, whether they're Formula One drivers, whether they're baseball players, whether they're tennis players, who all want to get out on the golf course and play golf. And the Formula One guys love it because their phones don't ring and they can just really sort of have their own quiet time.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it is interesting. Keegan Bradley has said it a number of times that he lived in Manchester, Vermont, and then moved to Hopkinton. But when he was growing up, like in the 7th, 8th, 9th grade, he would take his clubs onto the bus with him, and everybody would kind of laugh at him. And Keegan Bradley is really good because he does a big outing up at Manchester, and in front of all of these guys, he goes, "Look at me now." You know, you guys made fun of me, but I've done pretty good with, being a little bit different. And that's what it's all like, Marty. That's why you're so successful. I find myself being successful because we're different and we're odd and we're a little bit quirky. And you play this game, you're going to be an oddball a little bit.
Yeah, I remember growing up, Frank, I didn't think golf was a sport. You couldn't break anything. You didn't bleed. I mean, you could smoke a cigarette. You could drink a beer. That's a hobby. That's not a sport.
Well, hey, listen, Marty, you said it correctly. I think I might have even said this on the show. They used to talk to the old guys about having sports psychologists, like Jimmy Demerit. They said, do you have a sports psychologist? Do you work with somebody? Yeah, we meet him in the bar after. And his first name is Jim, and his last name is Jack, and his last name is Daniels. And that's the sports psychologist. And that's what it was. You're right. Those guys, you look at golf way back. I mean, and again, there's a lot of golf professionals that definitely probably didn't reach their potential because of, alcohol and just, it was really a big fraternity with those guys were driving all around the country, back in maybe the 40s and 50s.
Well,
think about it.
Frank, we just lost Tom Weiskopf,
right,
who was a great golfer, an Open champion, and he admitted, I think very candidly, late in his career, that he wasted away a lot of years by allowing the bottle to get control of him, I guess.
Right. Oh, definitely. I mean, he gave it up quite a bit, like maybe 25, 30 years ago, or maybe even a little bit before that. So he said he did start playing very, very good after that. I mean, he had a great stretch, and I was filling in yesterday on one of the top shows on Sirius XM called ITR for Carl Paulson, and we were talking about Weiskopf and does Tom Weiskopf belong in the Hall of Fame? He's not in there yet. Fred Couples is in the Hall of Fame with less wins and the same amount of majors. Pretty interesting.
Oh, boy, I think he's getting my vote. I can tell you that right now.
Well, it's almost too bad that it's, posthumously now instead of, being there. And again, they were comparing him to a lot of the golf pros that are in there right now. And you know what? I think Tom Weiskopf was a little kind of read at times too. He had 4 runner-ups at the Masters. I mean, just being one-time runner-up has to drive you crazy. 4 times he
Hey, Frank, tell us that story that you told yesterday about when he was broadcasting on TV and someone asked him about Nicklaus and what Nicklaus was thinking. Is that what they asked him?
So Tom Weiskopf, I'm not certain whether he played earlier. They used to have those guys play in the morning, like Lee Trevino used to do that. I think he was. I think he played early, didn't play too well. They picked Jack up making that big charge, and on the 16th tee, Jack kind of backs off it and then puts the ball back down again. And Weiskopf came out and said, "Man, if I knew what he was thinking right now, I wouldn't be sitting up here with you guys. I'd be winning these events." And Weiskopf was a different kind of guy. I met him one time. I had my St. John's team out in Cleveland at a place called Quail Hollow. They used to play a Nike event there. And Tom Weiskopf had just gotten into golf course designing. So he was doing one right next to the course we were playing on. I mean, kind of the holes were really right next door, like 100 yards. And I looked over. Of course, I'm out coaching my team, and they were playing well. So I saw Weiskopf on the one of the greens, and I walked over, and I stayed with him for about an hour, and it was really interesting, just his concepts and different things. And do you know that everybody loves, Dave, I know you love this, you love the short par 4s, the drivable par 4s?
Yep.
Well, Tom Weiskopf is the guy that did that. He's done 78 golf courses. He played in the Open at St. Andrews and drove it on about 4 holes. And he goes, I like this idea. And then he incorporated it in every single hole he did. And he's responsible for waste management, the 16th hole.
Well, maybe that makes this question moot, but will he be better remembered as a player or as an architect? Is his legacy more as a player or as an architect?
I think it's as a player, and I think the reason why he should be in the Hall of Fame is because he did have other things. He was a player, an announcer, an architect. So,
well, you're old, Frank. From where I come from, I'll remember him as a wonderful course designer. I mean, you're right. TPC, Scottsdale, which is a public access course. Anyone can go out there and play. I mean, that golf course is really cool. And the 16th hole, yes, is great. But, the hole that you probably love is 17 because that's the drivable 4.
Well, yeah, that's our friend Andrew McGee. We have him on our Sirius show all the time. He's the only tour player to make a hole-in-one in competition on a par 4. And it's a great story. He grew up there, so he's played the golf course 100 times, and he's behind. I think he's behind Gary Nicklaus. Yeah, Gary Nicklaus was on the green, and so was not Simpson, but somebody else. And he said, "I'm going to hit it." He just made bogey on the par 5. He was mad, and he hit it, and it hit a sprinkle head or something, and started bouncing. And it went onto the green between Gary Nicklaus's legs, hit the Pertzer was there, or one of the Pertzers or something.
Tom Pertzer
hit the Pertzer's putter and ricocheted into the hole. So it wasn't like a clean shot. And at the press conference, I guess they said it was a really good press conference because McGee was out there giving them everything, beers, and they had a great press conference. Pertzer's caddy stood up and said, "Believe it or not, that's the only putt that Tom Pertzer made all day." It's just a great story. And there's so many great stories from those older golf professionals. Like Marty loves to take shots at me. Yeah, I am old, but I'm 20 years younger than Marty. I can tell you that right now.
Hey, wait a second. I shot my age the other day.
Yeah, well, it's easy when, you just, all you got to do is break 100. You're right there,
Hey, I got to ask before we leave the topic of the way the tour used to be and the players used to be, etc. Fuzzy Zeller once told me, I asked him, I said, "What's the greatest impact that Tiger Woods has had?" And he goes, "Well, most of us are drinking Mick Ultra now instead of the hard stuff."
Yeah.
And a lot of people forget that Tiger actually taught the tour to get in shape.
Oh, yeah.
Taught the players, fitness.
Yeah, big time.
Yes, well, Davis Love always tells a story about his dad, who was a wonderful teacher and a member of the Golf Digest schools. And his dad felt, under no circumstances would he let the younger Davis Love work out or do anything like that, because they always felt 40, 50 years ago that would hurt your game, that if you built up muscles, that was bad. I remember one year David Duval lost about 40 pounds, and he looked like an Olympic athlete, and he was very worried that it was going to change the mechanics of his swing. Same thing with Carl Pedersen, who was big, lost a lot of weight, did not play well, put the weight back on, and played great again.
No, I think so too. I think Tiger Woods was such an influence, and it's kind of cool right now because Woods came on, and I listened to somebody the other day talking about Tiger Woods, and he probably should have done things a little bit different because he loved the military, loved SEAL training, and they said that kind of wore him down a little bit. So I think you're seeing, I don't think you're seeing as much heavy lifting as you are now, but you're seeing it's evolved into a lot of great stretching type stuff and aerobic. Dr. Jeff Poplawski, that comes on all the time here, loves to say that golf is just a 2-second sport. Boom, boom. So you need kind of fast stuff. You're not doing long type stuff. So, that's what a lot of these assessments are with Titleist Performance.
Well, Frank, this is going to be a humble brag, but I remember when Xander Schauffele won the Travelers a couple of weeks ago, I always fit the winner, with the Travelers blazer, and I ran in to the scoring tent right after he signs the scorecard, and I try a jacket or two on to make sure that he's going to look like $1 million. So I really got a good look at his physique, and gosh, he's an athlete. Yeah, he's a serious athlete.
Kind of like a lot of those the young guys right now are kind of like the hockey players. You don't really, you don't realize just how strong they are because they've got so much stuff on. All of a sudden, they are definitely chiseled as well. Hey, you're listening to Connecticut Flagstick here on iCRV Radio with Frank Darby and Marty Hackel. So, Marty, let's talk a little bit about that BMW Cup and the 30 guys that advanced. I think there was a little bit of pressure out there. Usually, I had a feeling Cantlay was going to win anyway, and the tail end meant a lot because, you need to get in that top 30, which is guaranteed last place at the Tour Championship this week is a little $500,000. So there was some, a little bit of pressure. I was really nice. It was really nice to see Adam Scott play great. That bunker shot I hit on 18, that was a $500,000 bunker shot.
Now, Frank, here's where I'm going to have to agree with you because I'm ecstatic that Adam Scott qualified for the Tour Championship because he wears Uniqlo. And Uniqlo is a great brand. It's also quite inexpensive. One time I added up the cost of buying everything that Adam Scott was wearing with the exception of his shoes. And with $100, you would have gotten about $18 back in change.
Wow.
So he didn't even spend $100 on each outfit. That's belt, that's socks, that's shirt.
Pretty good.
And he's a great looking guy with a fantastic swing. And we got Patrick Cantlay who wears Boss. So we're going to see some other brands, great brands on TV this weekend. And I'm looking forward to that.
It is interesting, Dave. Isn't it interesting sometimes, we're talking about the great swings and what but no, it is interesting when you start matching up what they're wearing. There's so many great companies out there. Like at the USM the other day, they were wearing Johnny O, and it looked good.
Yeah, it looked fantastic, didn't it? That's right.
So there's a lot of good, so
we got to have to get you guys an apparel deal now that you're on YouTube.
Well, we're going to have to, that's up to. I'm not Mr. Style.
I'm on it. Okay, give me a week or two. I'm on it.
Yeah. Well, we started half an hour ago. I figured, he was looking at his phone. I thought we already got signed by somebody.
I already have some texts going back and forth. We're already into it. You bet.
Yeah, but so it was pretty interesting, and I thought that the BMW Cup. Hey, listen, I'm a Cantlay fan. I liked all those guys that were up there, and Cantlay is actually. I think he's gotten some media training because they interviewed him the other day, and he was smiling and he was laughing. Usually they call him Patty Ice, because he's really, really quiet. But I'll tell you what a player, and it's going to be pretty interesting this coming week as well. So,
hey, do you mind if I ask you guys a few questions? Well, one question while we're still on that topic, because with LIV and all, and I don't want to get into the LIV thing, except for there's some repositioning and reposturing going on because the players all got together and they may be advancing some concepts and start some negotiations, etc. You mentioned last place at the FedEx Cup of the 30 is with $500,000 in your pocket. Is that enough money? It's a long way of getting there. Is that enough money, or do they have to even up that to try to put away this LIV interest?
Oh, they've got to absolutely up it a lot more than that.
Well, I think $18 million first prize is pretty strong. I think you're going to see, they came out the other day, the PGA Tour, with the secret meeting that we all know who was there. We haven't gotten any of the audio yet, which will probably be coming out. But it was pretty interesting how they were talking about just how much money there is out there, how many side little things they've got going. They're doing okay. I mean, they're talking. The only thing I didn't like was that they're talking about having a separate event for the top 60 so that they play more together. I mean, now all of a sudden we're creating another tour. So now we're giving Liv a chance to still be there with a tour inside another tour on the PGA Tour.
Well, that might change the DNA of the PGA Tour as we know it, and they might go from a 501c, which is a not-for-profit, to a for-profit operation, and I want to be at that board meeting because that's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, J.P. McManus, who the big pro-am was earlier in the year, he's a billionaire out of Ireland, owns where the Ryder Cup is coming. What is it? What's the name of it?
Adair Manor.
Adair Manor, sensational place. Well, he wants to be heavily involved, and they're going to try to bring in some of the other billionaires like yourself as well, Marty, to invest. I tell you what, I would invest in the PGA Tour because I think they're just going to keep getting better and better. Their sponsorships are unbelievable how good they are, and you know what? It's evolving, and I think the PGA Tour is trying to be a little creative right here, and I think they're going to be fine.
Well, Frank, I don't know how to break this to you, but the PGA Tour is not the NFL. And you look at the numbers on TV, people watch the NFL. Hardly anyone watches golf on TV. You look at those numbers. I don't want to turn into Jeff Shackelford here, but the numbers are pretty weak for golf right now.
Yeah, I guess so. It's hard to compete against the NFL. But Dave, go ahead. You had a couple of questions.
Yeah. I want to just allow, because now we have a whole new audience through our YouTube channel. Allow them to get to know you guys a little bit better. A lot of people don't realize, but Frank Darby did 20 plus years as the men's coach, the head coach for the St. John's University, which is fantastic. Marty Hackel has been spent. We like to say when we get to a certain point, Marty, that he's well seasoned. He's a well seasoned journalist, part of the media community in the world of golf for decades, and has both of you guys have been notable and in your nurturing of the passion and the game itself for current lovers of the game and for future generations. So let's get into something that I call the superlative segment, where I'm going to use bests and mosts in every question that I ask you guys. Okay?
Yeah.
We have all shared amongst ourselves that one of the favorite golf movies is The Greatest Game Ever Played. It's a fantastic movie. What's the greatest golf round that you ever witnessed, either in person or on TV?
Okay, Marty.
Oh, boy, that's a tough one. I think 2019, Tiger Woods, I think winning the Masters, I can tell you, I was reaching for Kleenex. I mean, and we were sitting in the media room, and it was unique. And we had seen Tiger win how many great tournaments before that, but that one was really special.
I think he needs the Kleenex right now. Okay, Marty, you slowed down.
That's another sponsor opportunity for us.
I was going to call 911. I thought you were having a heart attack or something.
Mark Messier, where are you when I need you?
I've got two quick ones, and I did see the clip this morning, which was amazing, when he won the Tour Championship Woods. That crowd trying to him get through that one, that was absolutely unbelievable. I think he was getting a little nervous because there was people above him, behind him, all around him. And, I know that Weiskopf had come out a couple of times and said nothing was better than trying to fight my way through that. The 18th hole, always at the Open, the fans get up there and you got to fight your way through the crowd. I mean, Watson's had a couple of times where he said he's lost his hat. He said he actually had an extra hat in his bag because somebody always stole his hat when he wore one of those Scottish type hats. Yeah, I heard that story from a while. But I think that was a great one, the Tour Championship, because that was the first one where he made the come. He was kind of stagnant for a while, and it was like amazing that he won that one as too. And the other one would have been, I guess, playing wise from my end of it. We used to have this tournament called the Open Heart Open at Huntington Crescent, and Ken Venturi, who everybody loves, had the course record for 40 years, and they loved it. Ken Venturi's name was up there as well. I happened to break it one day shooting 63 at Huntington Crescent, and they still don't like me at Huntington Crescent because who the hell is Frank Darby? You
Darby,
took a Hall of Famer like Ken Venturi, who is beloved, and all of a sudden they're like, so they actually conveniently posted the thing behind the handicap computer, so you had to move the handicap computer to see it. But so that would be something.
Hey, Dave, I'm shocked. Frank didn't talk about those rounds he played with old Tom Morris.
Yeah, well,
How about best lesson you ever learned, and who taught it to you? Can we go back that far?
Oh, yeah. I can give you that in 1 second.
Hey,
Jack Nicklaus. I had a 10-minute lesson with Jack Nicklaus. He said to me, "What's your favorite club?" I said, "Oh, 7-iron." He said, "All right, let me see you hit some 7-irons." I hit some pretty good 7-irons. It was up at Sleepy Hollow, and I hit some beauties. Then he said, "All right, what's the worst club in your bag?" And I said, "My 4-iron." He said, "All right, well, let's see you hit a couple of those." And then he stopped and he said, "You got a 4-iron swing and a 7-iron swing. You're only supposed to have one swing. So why don't you put a 7-iron swing on that 4-iron?" And lo and behold, I hit a couple of pretty good 4-irons. That was like 15 minutes with Jack. That was a pretty valid lesson, right?
Well,
Frank?
I tell you what,
That's a great story.
I wish he'd spend more time with Jack and spending so much time with me. But listen, Marty just took up part of the last question here because we've got to go pretty soon. But the best lesson I ever had was New York Yankees legend pitcher Ralph Terry. And Ralph Terry was at Rockaway Hunt on Long Island. And, I was about 22 years of age. And, I was never really cocky because I never was a great player. But I always won events in bad weather because I always had a good attitude and I was prepared for the bad weather. So that kind of neutralizes the field. Everybody else is pissed off about the bad weather. I know I have a chance at winning. So, like a couple of times I go out there, Ralph Terry, he was a legend with Whitey Ford and the Yankees. And I go out there about 4:30 and just for kind of like a checkup. And, Ralph would watch me hit 2 or 3 shots. And then it was kind of funny. This guy would come out all the time and with a drink called a Southsider, vodka. You know what they're, Marty. They're all these famous clubs. And then he'd look at me and say, "I got to go." Just walk away. I'd drive like an hour down there, and he'd give me about 6 minutes, but it was the best lessons of all time. And then finally, after him doing it twice, he goes, "You know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. Let's go out and play." So we started playing all the time. So it was a great lesson I learned from just a wonderful man who passed away a couple of years ago, and just really love that guy.
I have a long list of these superlative questions. Can we just do this as a little regular segment towards
Yes.
the end of the future shows?
Yeah, absolutely. That's fun.
I
Let's
like
do that.
Great stories.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, it's been a great experience here being on YouTube. I'm looking forward to seeing all the comments coming back about Mr. Style over here. And, but hey, listen, it's always fun to be here. And I tell you what, it's extra special when you get your team together as well. So, Marty, thanks for being here.
Well, my pleasure, Frank. Dave.
Always fun, guys.
You're driving next week.
Done.
Connecticut Flagstick with Frank Darby and Marty Hackel every Tuesday live on iCRV Radio and now also available on YouTube. Guys, thanks so much.
Oh, anytime.
All right.